Which establishment owes much to the offer by Sir Hans Sloane in 1758 for England to purchase his collections? British Museum. The British Museum was established in 1753 by an Act of Parliament, primarily funded by a lottery, following the bequest of the physician and naturalist Sir Hans Sloane. His vast collection of natural history specimens, antiquities, and books formed the foundation of the museum. It opened to the public in 1759, becoming the first national public museum in the world. French Intelligence Service, DGSE, agents Captain Dominique Pryor and Commander Alain Maffat were convicted of the manslaughter of photographer Fernando Pereira and sinking a ship, Greenpeace's The Rainbow Warrior, in 1985, in which harbour? Auckland, New Zealand. The bombing of the Rainbow Warrior occurred in Auckland Harbour, New Zealand, in 1985. French DGSE agents sank the Greenpeace vessel to prevent its protest against French nuclear testing in the Pacific. This act caused a major international incident, leading to a diplomatic crisis between France and New Zealand, and widespread condemnation. In Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tajikistan and among Persian-speaking populations of Central Asia, what is the sport called that involves two teams of horse riders, a dead goat and few rules? Buzkashi. Buzkashi is a traditional Central Asian sport, particularly popular in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, and other Persian-speaking regions. It involves mounted horsemen competing to grab a dead goat or calf carcass and carry it to a designated goal. The sport is known for its rough nature and demonstration of exceptional horsemanship skills. What is the capital of Australia? Canberra. Canberra is the capital city of Australia, located within the Australian Capital Territory, ACT. It was specifically chosen as the capital in 1908 as a compromise between rival cities Sydney and Melbourne, with its construction officially commencing in 1913. The city is renowned for its planned urban design and numerous national institutions. Who was the author of the plays, The Professor's Love Story, Quality Street, The Admirable Crichton, and Peter Pan? J. M. Barrie. Sir James Matthew Barrie, commonly known as J. M. Barrie, was a Scottish novelist and playwright. He is most famous for creating Peter Pan, or the boy who wouldn't grow up, a beloved character who first appeared in the novel, The Little White Bird, 1902, and subsequently in the celebrated play, Peter Pan, 1904. Barrie's works often explore themes of childhood, imagination, and the bittersweet nature of growing up. What was the capital of the Inca Empire from 1438 to 1532 which, at its peak, dominated a territory that included, from north to south, Ecuador, part of Colombia, the northern half of Chile, and the northwest part of Argentina, and, from west to east, from Bolivia to the Amazonian forests and Peru? Cuzco. Cuzco, also spelled Cusco, was the historic capital of the Inca Empire, flourishing from the 13th to the 16th century. Situated in the Andes Mountains of modern-day Peru, it served as the administrative, religious, and cultural center of the vast Inca state, renowned for its sophisticated urban planning and impressive stonework. Which author and playwright wrote, An Inspector Calls, When We Are Married, and Dangerous Corner? J. B. Priestley. J. B. Priestley was a prominent English novelist, playwright, and broadcaster. His most famous play, An Inspector Calls, is a classic of English theatre, known for its strong social commentary and exploration of moral responsibility. How many U.S. states have names beginning with the letter I? 4. There are 4 U.S. states whose names begin with the letter I: Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa. This type of question tests general geographical knowledge and attention to detail regarding political divisions. What is dichlordiphenyl trichloroethane used for? Insecticide. Dichlordiphenyl trichloroethane, commonly known as DDT, is a synthetic organochlorine insecticide. It was widely used in the mid-20th century for agricultural pest control and mosquito eradication, but its use was later restricted due to environmental concerns and its persistence in the ecosystem. Who led the first expedition to successfully circumnavigate the Earth between 1519 and 1522, and was killed during the voyage? Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan was a Portuguese explorer who organized the Spanish expedition to the East Indies from 1519 to 1522, resulting in the first circumnavigation of the Earth. Although Magellan himself was killed in the Philippines during the voyage, his expedition completed the unprecedented journey, proving the Earth was round and much larger than previously estimated. Which ship transported the English separatists, better known as the Pilgrims, from Southampton, England, to Plymouth, Massachusetts in 1620? Mayflower. The Mayflower was the ship that transported the first English Puritans, known today as the Pilgrims, from England to the New World in 1620. This voyage is a foundational event in American history, leading to the establishment of Plymouth Colony and the signing of the Mayflower Compact. Which country, with Asmara as its capital, had the King of Ethiopia as its monarch from 1952? Eritrea. Eritrea, with its capital Asmara, was federated with Ethiopia in 1952 after being an Italian colony and then a British protectorate. This federation led to its eventual annexation by Ethiopia in 1962, sparking a long war for independence which Eritrea finally achieved in 1993. What is the name of the group of 140 islands located 25 miles southwest of Land's End, Cornwall, England? Scilly Isles. The Isles of Scilly are an archipelago off the southwestern tip of Cornwall, England. Comprising about 140 islands and islets, only 5 of which are inhabited, they are known for their exceptional natural beauty, mild climate, and significant archaeological sites. At which battle, which began on the 4th of May 1942, were Japanese losses at least 7 warships, with over 20 others damaged, and USA losses included the aircraft carrier, Lexington, and 2 other ships? The Battle of the Coral Sea. The Battle of the Coral Sea was a major naval battle between the Imperial Japanese Navy and naval and air forces from the United States and Australia, fought from the 4th to the 8th of May 1942. It was the first naval battle in history where opposing fleets never sighted each other, with all combat conducted by carrier-based aircraft. The battle was a strategic victory for the Allies, preventing the Japanese invasion of Port Moresby. Which legendary character is the subject of musical settings of his adventures, notably by Purcell, Gluck and Mozart? Don Juan. Don Juan is a legendary libertine whose story has been adapted across various art forms for centuries, symbolizing seductive power and moral transgression. Notable musical settings include operas by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, Don Giovanni, and Christoph Willibald Gluck, showcasing its enduring cultural influence in classical music. What is the motto of the Boy Scout movement? Be prepared. Be prepared is the long-standing motto of the International Scout movement, established by its founder, Robert Baden-Powell. This motto encourages scouts to be ready for any situation, both mentally and physically, through training and forethought, embodying readiness and resourcefulness. Havana is closest to which extremity of Cuba? Northernmost. Havana, the capital city of Cuba, is located on the northwestern coast of the island. Its strategic position places it closest to the northernmost extremity of Cuba, facing the Florida Straits and offering a key port in the Caribbean. The experimental new village of Poundbury in England, much of which has been built to traditional lines, is built on land belonging to whom? Prince Charles. Poundbury is an urban extension to Dorchester, Dorset, England, designed according to architectural principles advocated by King Charles III, then Prince Charles. The project aims to create a high-quality, sustainable urban environment based on traditional design and walkable communities, serving as a notable example of new urbanism. Which mystic symbol among Buddhists was adopted in reverse by the Nazi Party in Germany? Swastika. The swastika is an ancient religious and cultural symbol, particularly sacred in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, representing good fortune, prosperity, and cosmic harmony. Tragically, it was appropriated and reversed by the Nazi Party in Germany in the 20th century, becoming a symbol of hate, anti-Semitism, and extreme nationalism. What method of engraving involves cutting lines cut into copper by means of a pointed steel tool? Dry point. Dry point is an intaglio printmaking technique where an image is incised directly into a metal plate, usually copper, with a sharp pointed tool. This process creates a burr, a ridge of displaced metal, on either side of the line, which holds additional ink during printing and produces a characteristic soft, velvety line in the final print. What is the English name for the red wines of Bordeaux, especially from vineyards in the Médoc district of the Gironde? Claret. Claret is a traditional British term for red Bordeaux wine, particularly those from the Médoc district of the Gironde department in France. The term has historical significance, reflecting centuries of wine trade and cultural ties between England and the renowned Bordeaux wine region. Portuguese rule of which country ended in 1975, with the appointment of Samora Machel as its first president? Mozambique. Mozambique gained independence from Portugal on June 25, 1975, after a decade-long war of independence. Samora Machel, leader of the FRELIMO liberation movement, became the country's first president. On which planet is Olympus Mons? Mars. Olympus Mons is a massive shield volcano on the planet Mars. It is the largest volcano and the second highest mountain in the solar system, towering approximately 25 kilometers, 16 miles, above the Martian surface. Gingivitis is a general term for what? Diseases affecting the gums. Gingivitis refers to the inflammation of the gums, typically caused by bacterial plaque accumulation along the gum line. If left untreated, it can progress to more severe forms of periodontal disease, such as periodontitis. What name was given to Australian bandits who raided its remoter settlements until the late 19th century? Bushrangers. Bushrangers were escaped convicts and outlaws in Australia who roamed the bush, often robbing settlements and coaches. Their era, particularly in the 19th century, is a significant part of Australian folk history. The gallop, from Offenbach's, Offie Ox and Furs, is generally associated with what? Can. The Infernal Gallop, from Jacques Offenbach's 1858 operetta, Offie Ox and Furs, Orpheus in the Underworld, is famously known as the music for the can dance. This lively and energetic dance became a hallmark of Parisian music halls and cabarets. Which river runs through the cities of St. Louis, St. Charles, Jefferson City and Kansas City? Missouri. The Missouri River is the longest river in North America, flowing for approximately 3,767 kilometers, 2,341 miles. It is a major tributary of the Mississippi River, serving as a vital waterway that has played a crucial role in the development and history of the central United States. Which 19th-century French physicist erected a pendulum 200 feet high in the Pantheon in Paris to demonstrate the Earth's rotation? Jean Foucault. Léon Foucault demonstrated Earth's rotation in 1851 using a pendulum now known as the Foucault pendulum. The experiment, performed in the Pantheon in Paris, visually proved the Coriolis effect and the planet's rotation without astronomical observations. What type of animal is the world's largest reptile? Crocodile. The saltwater crocodile, Crocodylus porosus, is generally considered the world's largest living reptile, both in terms of mass and length. It can grow up to 6.3 meters, 21 feet, long and weigh over 1,000 kilograms, inhabiting coastal waters and brackish rivers of Southeast Asia and northern Australia. What is the name for a mechanical saw with a, usually vertical, blade, formed by an endless toothed band? Bandsaw. A bandsaw is a power saw with a long, sharp blade consisting of a continuous band of metal with teeth along one edge, running between two or more wheels. It is used for woodworking, metalworking, and cutting various other materials, known for its ability to cut irregular or curved shapes. What is the name for the British manufacturing district that includes Birmingham, Wolverhampton, West Bromwich, Dudley, Smethwick, and Walsall? Black Country. The Black Country is a historical industrial region in the West Midlands of England, known for its heavy industry during the Industrial Revolution. Its name is thought to derive from the soot and smoke from thousands of forges, foundries, and factories, which blackened the landscape and buildings. What part of mainland Europe was English territory for 200 years from the mid-14th century? Calais. Calais was an English possession for over 200 years, from 1347 to 1558, following its capture by Edward III during the Hundred Years' War. It served as a vital strategic outpost and a gateway to France, for English monarchs, often referred to as the brightest jewel in the English crown. What is the name for a loose mock biographical quatrain such as, "When Alexander Pope accidentally trod on the soap, and came down on the back of his head, never mind what he said"? Clerihew. A clerihew is a four-line rhyming poem, usually on a person named in the first line. It has an AABB rhyme scheme and often features humorous or whimsical biographical details, named after its inventor, Edmund Clerihew Bentley. Ex-US President Richard Nixon was disqualified from what in 1976? Practicing law. Following his resignation from the presidency due to the Watergate scandal, Richard Nixon was disbarred from practicing law in New York in 1976. This action, taken by the state's highest court, was a direct consequence of his obstruction of justice and abuse of power. What is the name for an organized body of professional applauders employed in French theaters? Claque. A claque refers to an organized group of professional applauders hired to ensure a performance's success by clapping and cheering at appropriate moments. This practice was particularly prominent in French theaters during the 18th and 19th centuries, influencing audience reception and critical acclaim. The 520 men and 197 women who arrived in 11 ships at Botany Bay, Australia, on the 26th of January 1788, were mostly what? Convicts. On January 26, 1788, the first fleet, carrying British convicts, arrived at Botany Bay, marking the beginning of European settlement in Australia. This event, now celebrated as Australia Day, had profound long-term impacts on the indigenous population and the nation's development. Which English botanist became famous for his research during expeditions to the east coast of Canada in 1766, the Pacific in 1769 and Iceland in 1772? Joseph Banks. Sir Joseph Banks was an influential English botanist who accompanied Captain James Cook on his first voyage of circumnavigation to the Pacific, 1768 to 1771. His extensive collections and research significantly expanded European knowledge of flora and fauna from uncharted regions, contributing immensely to botany and natural history. In 1782, what was made the official bird of the USA? Bald eagle. The bald eagle, Haliaeetus leucocephalus, was officially adopted as the national bird of the United States on June 20, 1782, by the Second Continental Congress. It symbolizes freedom, strength, and national pride, reflecting the ideals upon which the nation was founded. In Greek mythology, Croesus was known for what? Wealth. Croesus was the last king of Lydia, 560-546 B.C., renowned in Greek historiography and mythology for his immense wealth. His name became proverbial for a rich man, stemming from his control over the gold-rich Pactolus River and his lavish lifestyle, though his story often serves as a cautionary tale about the transience of fortune. Who became Roman emperor after the murder of Caligula and later married his niece Agrippina, who is believed to have poisoned him? Claudius. Claudius reigned as Roman emperor from 41 to 54 AD. He succeeded Caligula, his nephew, after Caligula's assassination, and his reign was marked by significant expansion, including the conquest of Britain. His fourth wife, Agrippina the Younger, is widely believed to have poisoned him to secure the succession for her son, Nero. From which country's tyranny did the legendary Swiss hero William Tell supposedly rescue his land in 1307? Austria. William Tell is a legendary folk hero of Switzerland, whose story symbolizes the Swiss struggle for independence from Habsburg rule. According to the legend, his defiance against Austrian overlord Gessler in 1307 sparked an uprising that eventually led to the formation of the Old Swiss Confederacy. While the historicity of Tell himself is debated, his tale remains a powerful national myth. What Latin phrase, meaning, God from the machine, refers to a plot device on the classical stage where a seemingly unsolvable problem is suddenly resolved by the unexpected introduction of an outside character, object, or event? Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina is a Latin phrase that literally translates to God from the machine. In classical Greek and Roman drama, it referred to a crane, machina, used to lower actors playing gods onto the stage to resolve seemingly intractable plots. Today, it describes any contrived or improbable plot device that suddenly and abruptly resolves a complicated situation. Which major river flows through the heart of London, England? Thames. The River Thames is the second longest river in the United Kingdom and the longest entirely within England. It plays a crucial role in London's history, development, and geography, serving as a vital transport route and a defining feature of the city's landscape. Many iconic landmarks are situated along its banks. What is the southernmost point in all U.S. territory, including its insular areas? Rose Atoll, American Samoa. Rose Atoll is an uninhabited wildlife refuge located in American Samoa, an unincorporated territory of the United States. It holds the distinction of being the southernmost point of all U.S. territory, including its states and other possessions. The atoll is ecologically significant as a marine protected area. Which globally popular sport was invented in 1891 by Canadian-born American physical education instructor Dr. James Naismith? Basketball. Dr. James Naismith, a physical education instructor at the International YMCA Training School in Springfield, Massachusetts, invented basketball in December 1891. He sought to create a new indoor sport that was less rough than football but still active, using peach baskets as hoops. This invention quickly spread globally and became one of the world's most popular sports. How many stories above ground does the iconic Empire State Building in New York City have? 102. The Empire State Building is a 102-story Art Deco skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan, New York City. Completed in 1931, it was the world's tallest building for nearly 40 years. It remains an American cultural icon and a prominent symbol of New York City, attracting millions of visitors annually. Who led the first expedition that reached the South Pole? Roald Amundsen. Roald Amundsen, a Norwegian explorer, led the first expedition to reach the South Pole on December 14, 1911. His successful mission relied on expert planning, skilled use of skis and dog sleds, and deep knowledge of polar survival. Where is the lowest point in the USA? Death Valley. Death Valley, located in California's Mojave Desert, is the lowest point in North America at 282 feet, 86 meters, below sea level. It is also one of the hottest places on Earth, known for its extreme temperatures and arid landscape. What is an alternative name for belladonna? Deadly nightshade. Belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade, Atropa belladonna, is a highly toxic perennial herbaceous plant. Its berries and leaves contain potent tropane alkaloids, such as atropine, which can be lethal if ingested, making it one of the most poisonous plants. Who instigated the first complete translation of the Bible into English? John Wycliffe. John Wycliffe, an English theologian and philosopher, is credited with instigating the first complete translation of the Bible into English in the late 14th century. This significant work made the scriptures accessible to common people, laying groundwork for the Protestant Reformation. What is wrong with someone who suffers from anemia? Their red blood cell count is low. Anemia is a condition characterized by a deficiency of healthy red blood cells or hemoglobin, leading to reduced oxygen transport to the body's tissues. This often results in symptoms like fatigue, weakness, pale skin, and shortness of breath. What peninsula on the north coast of the Black Sea is connected to the mainland by the Isthmus of Perico? Crimea. The Crimean Peninsula is a major landmass on the northern coast of the Black Sea, administratively part of Ukraine but annexed by Russia in 2014. It is connected to the Ukrainian mainland by the narrow Isthmus of Perico, making it a strategically significant region. The naval battle fought on the 2nd of April 1801, known as the Battle of Copenhagen, was fought between Denmark and a navy from where? Britain. The Battle of Copenhagen, fought on April 2, 1801, was a significant naval engagement during the Napoleonic Wars. It pitted a British fleet under Admiral Horatio Nelson against the Dano-Norwegian Navy, resulting in a decisive British victory that severely weakened Denmark's naval power. The first high-speed impact collision of two intact space spacecraft occurred in February 2009 between an out-of-control Russian satellite, launched in 1993, and what other satellite? An Iridium commercial satellite launched in 1997. The 2009 satellite collision, involving a defunct Russian Cosmos 2251 satellite and an operational Iridium-33 communications satellite, was the first hypervelocity impact of two intact spacecraft. This incident generated a significant amount of space debris, highlighting growing concerns about orbital congestion and the long-term sustainability of space activities. Who became the premier and foreign minister of the first all-China communist government in 1949? Zhou Enlai. Zhou Enlai was a prominent figure in the Chinese Communist Party, serving as Premier of the People's Republic of China from 1949 until his death in 1976. He played a crucial role in the communist victory in the Chinese Civil War and was instrumental in shaping China's foreign policy and economic development. Which London landmark, designed by Sir Christopher Wren, commemorates the Great Fire of London? The Monument. The Monument to the Great Fire of London, commonly known as the Monument, is a Doric column built between 1671 and 1677. Designed by Sir Christopher Wren and Robert Hooke, it stands 202 feet tall, symbolizing the height of the fire's reach from its base. What entity changed its name as a result of the Treaty of Maastricht in 1991? The European Community. The Treaty of Maastricht, signed in 1992, effective 1993, established the European Union, thereby transforming the European Economic Community, and subsequently the European Community, into a broader political and economic union. This treaty laid the groundwork for a common foreign and security policy, as well as cooperation in justice and home affairs. Which infectious disease is characterized by ulceration and inflammation of the bowel, generalized toxemia, and wasting, typically caused by the ingestion of food contaminated by flies? Typhoid fever. Typhoid fever is a serious bacterial infection caused by Salmonella typhi, primarily spread through contaminated food or water. It affects the intestinal tract and can lead to symptoms like high fever, fatigue, and severe gastrointestinal issues if left untreated. What is the geographical line that marks the most northerly latitude at which the sun can be directly overhead at noon? Tropic of Cancer. The Tropic of Cancer is one of the 5 major circles of latitude that mark maps of the Earth. It represents the northernmost latitude where the sun can be seen directly overhead at the summer solstice, occurring annually around June 21st. To which biological category does tansy belong? Plant. Tansy, Tanacetum vulgar, is a perennial herbaceous flowering plant of the aster family, Asteraceae. It is known for its fern-like leaves and button-like, yellow flower heads, and has a history of medicinal and insecticidal use. Which celestial body was discovered by astronomer Clyde W. Tombaugh on February 18, 1930? Pluto. Pluto was discovered by Clyde W. Tombaugh at the Lowell Observatory in Arizona. It was initially classified as the 9th planet from the Sun until 2006, when the International Astronomical Union reclassified it as a dwarf planet due to new criteria for planetary status. In 1903, racing on public roads was banned in France following an incident where spectators and drivers, including Marcel Renault, were killed during a race between which 2 cities? Paris and Madrid. The 1903 Paris-Madrid race was a major early motor race that was prematurely halted due to numerous fatalities and accidents. This tragic event led to the immediate ban on open-road intercity racing in France, prompting a crucial shift towards closed-circuit tracks to improve safety in motor racing. What kind of engagement was the Battle of Trafalgar? Naval battle. The Battle of Trafalgar was a pivotal naval engagement fought on October 21, 1805, during the Napoleonic Wars. The British Royal Navy, led by Admiral Lord Nelson, achieved a decisive victory over the combined fleets of France and Spain, effectively ending Napoleon's plans for invading Britain. Which 18th-century German composer is renowned for over 40 operas, including Orfeo ed Eurydice and Ulster, as well as comic operas and instrumental music? Christoph Willibald Gluck. Christoph Willibald Gluck was a significant German composer of the early classical period. He is particularly noted for his operatic reforms, aiming for greater dramatic unity and simplicity by integrating music and drama more closely, rather than merely showcasing vocal virtuosity. His work profoundly influenced later operatic composers. The men traveling as whose crew were the first known humans to reach and cross the Antarctic Circle in 1773? Captain James Cook. Captain James Cook's second voyage, 1772 to 1775, was a pioneering expedition into the Antarctic. On January 17, 1773, his crew aboard HMS Resolution became the first known humans to cross the Antarctic Circle, significantly contributing to geographical exploration. What form of art is characterized by depicting objects by a rectangular or geometric treatment of their forms? Cubism. Cubism is an influential early 20th century art movement, pioneered by Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque. It revolutionized painting and sculpture by presenting subjects from multiple viewpoints simultaneously, often using geometric shapes and fragmented forms. What is another word for endomorphic? Plump. Endomorphic refers to a body type characterized by a relatively high proportion of fat and a large digestive system, often associated with a soft, rounded physique. It is one of the three somatotypes, along with mesomorphic and ectomorphic, proposed by William Sheldon. Where are the most famous examples of cliff dwellings, habitats of primitive peoples constructed of lime and stone in the hollow surface of cliffs? Mesa Verde, Colorado, USA. Mesa Verde National Park in Colorado, USA, is renowned for its remarkably well-preserved ancestral Puebloan cliff dwellings. These ancient structures, built into the alcoves of canyon walls from the 6th to 14th centuries, offer significant insights into early Native American civilizations. In Britain, by an Act of 1541, repealed in 1845, artificers, laborers, apprentices and servants were forbidden to play which sport at any time except Christmas, and then only in their master's house and presence, or be fined 6.8d. Bowls. This historical restriction on playing bowls in 16th century Britain reflects efforts to regulate the leisure activities of the working class, often to ensure productivity or promote military training like archery. Such laws provide insight into the social structures and governmental control of the era. With what art form is Frenchman Paul Cézanne associated? Painting. Paul Cézanne, 1839–1906, was a French post-impressionist painter whose work profoundly influenced 20th century art, particularly Cubism. He is known for his systematic approach to painting, breaking down objects into basic geometric forms and using multiple perspectives. What term describes the process of extracting rubber from trees? Tapping. Tapping refers to the process of making an incision in the bark of rubber trees, Hevea brasiliensis, to allow the latex, a milky sap, to flow out. This latex is then collected and processed to produce natural rubber, a crucial raw material for various industries. What was the Japanese name for Manchuria after its occupation in 1931? Manchukuo. Manchukuo was a puppet state established by the Empire of Japan in northeast China, Manchuria, in 1932, following the Japanese invasion of Manchuria in 1931. It lasted until the end of World War II in 1945, serving as a key strategic territory for Japan's expansionist policies. To what activity do the initials, FDC, refer? Philately. FDC stands for First Day Cover, a philatelic item consisting of a postage stamp affixed to an envelope or postcard and cancelled on the first day of issue. Philately is the study of stamps and postal history, an activity pursued by collectors worldwide. Historically, shipboard time was communicated by ringing bells. How many hours did 8 bells signify? 4 hours. On traditional sailing ships, the day was divided into 4-hour watches, and time was marked by a ship's bell. The bell was rung once every half hour into the watch, up to 8 bells, 4 pairs of 2 rings, at the end of the watch, signaling a change of watch. During the reign of Edward the Confessor in England, royal petitions became so numerous they were referred to the Chancellor. Which specialized court was established to adjudicate them? The Court of Chancery. The Court of Chancery, or Equity Court, emerged in medieval England to provide remedies for injustices that could not be addressed by the rigid common law courts. It developed under the Lord Chancellor, initially dealing with petitions to the King for justice, and focused on principles of fairness and equity rather than strict legal precedent. Rickets is a condition caused by a deficiency of which vitamin? Vitamin D. Rickets is a condition characterized by soft, weak bones in children, primarily due to a prolonged deficiency of vitamin D, which is essential for calcium absorption and bone mineralization. Insufficient exposure to sunlight or inadequate dietary intake are common causes. Who was elected President of the Confederate States of America when the Southern states seceded from the Union in 1861? Jefferson Davis. Jefferson Davis served as the President of the Confederate States of America throughout its existence during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. A former U.S. Senator and Secretary of War, he led the Southern states in their attempt to form an independent nation based on the preservation of slavery. What is the term for an enamel decoration technique where a design is outlined with soldered metal fillets, which are then filled with enamel paste or powder, vitrified, and ground smooth? Cloisonné. Cloisonné is an ancient art technique for decorating metalwork objects with enamel. The process involves creating compartments, cloisons, on a metal surface using thin wires or strips, which are then filled with colored enamel powder. After firing, the surface is ground and polished, resulting in a smooth, vibrant design. Plato and Xenophon are the most famous pupils of which Greek philosopher? Socrates. Socrates was a classical Greek philosopher credited as one of the founders of Western philosophy. His most famous students were Plato, who recorded much of his teachings, and Xenophon, a historian and soldier. The tarantella, from southern Italy, is a type of what? A dance characterized by a fast upbeat tempo. The tarantella is a group of various folk dances native to southern Italy, characterized by a fast, upbeat tempo and often associated with the belief that dancing it could cure the bite of a tarantula spider. It is a vibrant and energetic dance form. What island was occupied by Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Goths, Saracens, Normans, and the Angevin, Habsburg and Bourbon dynasties until it became part of United Italy in 1861? Sicily. Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean Sea, has a rich and complex history due to its strategic location. It has been ruled by numerous civilizations and empire, including the Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Arabs, and Normans, before joining unified Italy in 1861. What is a nickname for Australia? Down Under. Down Under is a common nickname for Australia and New Zealand, primarily due to their location in the southern hemisphere, antipodal to many northern hemisphere countries. The term reflects their geographical position on the globe. Where was gold discovered by James Wilson Marshall on January 24, 1848, that led to the California Gold Rush, 1848 to 1855? Sutter's Mill. Gold was discovered by James W. Marshall at Sutter's Mill in Coloma, California, on January 24, 1848. This discovery ignited the California Gold Rush, attracting hundreds of thousands of prospectors and significantly impacting California's growth and economy. Phobos and Deimos are the moons of which planet? Mars. Phobos and Deimos are the two natural satellites of the planet Mars. They are small, irregularly shaped moons, believed by many scientists to be captured asteroids rather than formed in orbit around Mars. Who was president of the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, FIFA, when, on the 28th of May 1928, the FIFA Congress in Amsterdam decided to stage a world championship? Jules Rimet. Jules Rimet, a French football administrator, served as the third president of FIFA from 1921 to 1954. During his tenure, the FIFA Congress in Amsterdam decided in 1928 to stage a world championship, leading to the first FIFA World Cup in Uruguay in 1930. He is often called the father of the World Cup. Which Welsh mountain system runs from the Black Mountains to Snowdon? Cambrian. The Cambrian Mountains are a series of mountain ranges in Wales, forming the backbone of the country. They extend from the Black Mountains in the south to Snowdon in the north, which is the highest mountain in Wales. Crampons are used in what activity? Climbing. Crampons are traction devices attached to footwear to improve mobility on snow and ice. They are essential equipment for activities such as ice climbing, mountaineering, and glacier travel, providing grip on challenging terrain. What was unusual about the catching of two examples of a species of fish, called the coelacanth, in 1938 and 1953? They were thought to have been extinct for 50 million years. The coelacanth is a living fossil fish, long thought extinct, whose rediscovery in 1938 and 1953 stunned the scientific community. It provides invaluable insights into vertebrate evolution and the deep ocean ecosystem. Who was the Philistine warrior, famous for his battle with David, the future king of Israel, as described in the Hebrew Bible, Christian Old Testament and, more briefly, in the Quran? Goliath. Goliath was a giant Philistine warrior, famously defeated by David, the future king of Israel, in a single combat described in the book of Samuel. This narrative is a foundational story in Abrahamic religions, symbolizing the triumph of the underdog against overwhelming odds. In the 1790s, what were Chouans? Royalists in Brittany. The Chouans were royalist insurgents in western France, particularly Brittany, who opposed the First French Republic during the French Revolution in the 1790s. Their rebellion, known as the Chouannerie, was part of the wider counter-revolutionary movement against the radical changes implemented by the revolutionary government. What was the name of the representative body in pre-revolutionary Russia that was revived in 1905? Duma. The Duma was a representative assembly in pre-revolutionary Russia, initially convened by Tsar Nicholas II in 1905 following widespread unrest. Though its powers were often limited, it marked a significant, albeit brief, step towards constitutional monarchy and parliamentary governance in Russia. What is the name for the position in the orbit of a heavenly body when it is nearest the Sun? Perihelion. Perihelion is the point in the orbit of a celestial body, such as a planet or comet, where it is closest to the Sun. Conversely, the point farthest from the Sun is called aphelion. In which country, which was neutral in World War II, was there a revolution which deposed the monarchy in 1910, then a military coup d'état in 1926, followed by a right-wing dictatorship? Portugal. Portugal underwent significant political upheaval in the early 20th century, including the overthrow of its monarchy in 1910, establishing the First Portuguese Republic. This was followed by a military coup in 1926, which ultimately led to the establishment of the authoritarian Estado Novo regime under Antonio de Oliveira Salazar. What was the nationality of the scholar Erasmus? Dutch. Desiderius Erasmus Rotterdammus, commonly known as Erasmus, was a Dutch philosopher and Catholic theologian who was one of the most important figures of classical scholarship in the Northern Renaissance. He was a prominent humanist, known for his satirical work, In Praise of Folly, and his new Latin and Greek editions of the New Testament. Who was the sister of the Emperor Augustus and great-niece of Julius Caesar who married Mark Antony? Octavia. Octavia the Younger was the elder sister of the Roman Emperor Augustus and the great-niece of Julius Caesar. She was famously married to Mark Antony, a powerful Roman general and triumvir, in an attempt to solidify political alliances, though their marriage ultimately dissolved amidst the Roman civil wars. What body of water is 86 feet, 26 meters, below sea level? Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea is the world's largest inland body of water, often classified as the largest lake or a full-fledged sea. Its surface is approximately 28 meters, 92 feet, below global sea level, making it an endorheic basin with no outflow to oceans. What is the name given to copper bars arranged in a cylinder, insulated from each other, which rotates to connect each section of the armature in turn, in a motor, or to the external current, in a dynamo? Commutator. A commutator is a rotary electrical switch found in certain electric motors and generators that periodically reverses the current direction between the rotor and the external circuit. It consists of multiple insulated copper segments mounted on the rotating shaft, ensuring continuous rotation and efficient power transfer. Thomas the Torquemada is famous for his part in which event? Spanish Inquisition. Thomas the Torquemada was a Castilian Dominican friar and the first Grand Inquisitor in Spain's history. He is renowned for his zealous efforts in establishing and organizing the Spanish Inquisition, leading to the persecution of heretics and non-Catholics. Where in London would you find Rotten Row? Hyde Park. Rotten Row is a broad track running along the south side of Hyde Park in London, historically used for horse riding. It was one of the first roads in England to be lit at night to enhance safety for high society. What statistical term is used in government, marketing or opinion research to denote the characteristics of a population? Demographic. Demographics refer to statistical data relating to the population and particular groups within it, such as age, gender, income, and education. This data is crucial for governments, businesses, and researchers to understand population trends, target services, and formulate policies. Which Saint's Day is observed on November 30th? St. Andrew's Day. St. Andrew's Day is celebrated annually on November 30th, commemorating St. Andrew the Apostle, patron saint of Scotland, Russia, Barbados, and Ukraine. It is a national holiday in Scotland and a day of cultural significance. Where was the testing ground for British nuclear weapons located in 1957? Christmas Island, then part of the Gilbert and Ellice Islands in the Pacific Ocean. Christmas Island, now Kiritimati, served as a primary site for British nuclear weapons testing in 1957 as part of Operation Grapple and Grapple X. These tests were crucial for developing Britain's hydrogen bomb capability during the Cold War. Which prominent London street extends from St. Paul's Churchyard towards the Bank of England? Cheapside. Cheapside is an ancient and historic street in the City of London, renowned for its medieval market and commercial significance. It connects St. Paul's Churchyard to the vicinity of the Bank of England, reflecting its enduring role as a central thoroughfare in the city's history. What is the meaning of the Latin term, pro forma? As a matter of form, for the sake of form. The Latin term, pro forma, literally translates to, for the sake of form. In business and legal contexts, it refers to an action or document done or provided as a formality, often to meet a legal requirement or standard practice, rather than for its immediate substantive value. Upon reaching the South Pole in January 1912, Robert Falcon Scott discovered that which explorer had preceded him? Roald Amundsen. Robert Falcon Scott, a British explorer, reached the geographic South Pole on January 17, 1912, only to find that Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen had arrived there a month earlier, on December 14, 1911. This marked the dramatic conclusion of the race to the South Pole, a significant event in polar exploration history. The Kiel Canal links which two seas? North and Baltic. The Kiel Canal is a 98-kilometer-long freshwater canal in the German state of Schleswig-Holstein. It links the North Sea at Brunsbüttel to the Baltic Sea at Kiel-Holtenau, significantly shortening maritime routes by allowing ships to bypass the Jutland Peninsula. It is one of the world's busiest artificial waterways. Porfirio Diaz resigned from the presidency of which country in May 1911? Mexico. Porfirio Diaz was a Mexican general and politician who served 7 terms as president of Mexico for over 30 years. His resignation in May 1911, following the outbreak of the Mexican Revolution, marked a pivotal moment in Mexican history, ending the long period known as the Porfiriato and initiating significant political and social changes. In Belgium, water, polders. Reclaimed land. Polders are low-lying tracts of land, often below sea level, that have been reclaimed from the sea, a lake, or a river. These areas are enclosed by dikes and have a controlled water level, making them suitable for agriculture and settlement. The concept is particularly significant in countries like the Netherlands and Belgium, where they represent remarkable feats of engineering and land management. To whom was David Rizzio the secretary, when he was stabbed to death by her husband, Lord Darnley in 1566 at Holyrood House, Edinburgh? Mary Queen of Scots. David Rizzio was the private secretary of Mary, Queen of Scots. He was murdered in 1566 at Holyrood Palace by a group of Protestant nobles, including Mary's jealous husband, Lord Darnley. This event was a significant incident in Mary's tumultuous reign, reflecting the intense political and religious tensions of 16th-century Scotland. What instrument is used to accurately measure small differences in vertical heights? Cathetometer. A cathetometer is an optical instrument used to precisely measure small vertical distances or differences in heights. It typically consists of a vertical scale and a horizontal telescope that can be moved up and down the scale, allowing for accurate readings. This instrument is widely used in physics and chemistry laboratories for experiments requiring precise vertical position measurements, such as determining liquid levels or capillary rise. What was the purpose of explorer Captain James Cook's last voyage in 1776? To discover a northern passage between the Pacific and the Atlantic. Captain James Cook's third and final voyage, commencing in 1776, aimed primarily to locate the elusive Northwest Passage, a sea route connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans through the Arctic. Although he extensively explored the Pacific, including the coasts of North America and the Bering Strait, he did not find the passage. Cook was tragically killed in Hawaii during this expedition in 1779. Seas and oceans constitute approximately what percentage of the Earth's surface? 70%. Oceans and seas cover about 70.8% of the Earth's surface, playing a critical role in regulating climate, hosting diverse ecosystems, and supporting the water cycle. The remaining portion is landmass. Which is the driest region in the USA? Death Valley. Death Valley, located in the Mojave Desert in eastern California, is renowned as the hottest and driest place in North America. It holds the record for the highest air temperature ever recorded on Earth. What term describes the silvery aureole that surrounds the Sun's chromosphere? Corona. The solar corona is the outermost layer of the Sun's atmosphere, extending millions of kilometers into space. It is typically visible during a total solar eclipse as a luminous, silvery halo and is significantly hotter than the Sun's surface. Traditionally, what is proclaimed by a town crier? Ois. Ois is an Anglo-Norman word meaning, hear ye. It was traditionally used by town criers and court officials to command attention before making a public proclamation or opening court proceedings. The central characters of which play by Henrik Ibsen include Dr. Thomas Stockman, his wife and 3 children, and Peter Stockman, the mayor and his elder brother. An Enemy of the People. An Enemy of the People is a famous play by Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen, first published in 1882. It explores themes of truth versus public opinion, environmental ethics, and the corrupting influence of power. Tansu Çiller became the first female prime minister of which Muslim-majority country in 1993? Turkey. Tansu Çiller served as the Prime Minister of Turkey from 1993 to 1996, making her the first and only woman to hold the position in the country's history. Her tenure was marked by economic reforms and challenges. What is the next city in this historical sequence of Winter Olympic hosts? Squaw Valley, Innsbruck, Grenoble, Sapporo. This sequence represents host cities for consecutive Winter Olympic Games: Squaw Valley, 1960, Innsbruck, 1964, Grenoble, 1968, and Sapporo, 1972. Sapporo, Japan, was the first city outside Europe and North America to host the Winter Olympics. In 1818, under whose influence did Bernadotte become King Charles XIV of Sweden? Napoleon I. Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte was a French marshal under Napoleon Bonaparte who was elected Crown Prince of Sweden in 1810 and later ascended to the throne as King Charles XIV John in 1818. His rise was a direct consequence of Napoleonic political maneuvering and alliances in Europe. The capital of which French island in the West Indies, located between Dominica and Saint Lucia, Saint-Pierre, was destroyed by a natural disaster in 1902 and subsequently moved to Fort-de-France? Martinique. Martinique is a French overseas department in the Caribbean. Its former capital, Saint-Pierre, was devastated by the eruption of Mount Pelée in 1902, a catastrophic event that led to the relocation of the capital to Fort-de-France. Who was president of the Society for Constructive Birth Control and Racial Progress in England and the author of influential books on sexual hygiene published between 1918 and 1935, including Married Love, Radiant Motherhood, and Marriage in My Time? Mary Stopes. Mary Stopes was a pioneering British paleobotanist, author, and advocate for birth control and eugenics in the early 20th century. Her controversial yet influential works played a significant role in shaping public discourse on sexual health and women's reproductive rights. What was the popular name for the Paris prison at 232 Rue Saint-Antoine that was famously stormed during the French Revolution in 1789? Bastille. The Bastille was a medieval fortress and prison in Paris, symbolizing royal despotism. Its storming on July 14, 1789, marked a pivotal moment and is widely considered the start of the French Revolution, leading to its complete demolition. In botany, what is the term for the scar left on a tree or plant after a leaf falls? Cicatrix. In botany, a cicatrix refers to the scar tissue that forms on a plant stem or branch after a leaf, fruit, or other part naturally detaches. This process, known as abscission, is crucial for plant health, sealing off the wound to prevent water loss and pathogen entry. In March 1918, the capital of Russia was moved to which city? Moscow. Following the October Revolution in 1917, the Bolshevik government relocated the capital of Soviet Russia from Petrograd, St. Petersburg, to Moscow in March 1918. This move was partly for strategic reasons, positioning the capital further from the front lines of World War I. The planet Mercury was photographed in 1974 and 1975 by which spacecraft? Mariner 10. Mariner 10 was the first spacecraft to perform a flyby of the planet Mercury, accomplishing this feat 3 times in 1974 and 1975. It provided the first close-up images of Mercury's surface and collected crucial data on its atmosphere and magnetic field. From 1985 onwards, Mikhail Gorbachev introduced the policies of glasnost and perestroika in an attempt to modernize the Soviet Union. What do these two words mean? Openness and restructuring. Glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, were political and economic reforms initiated by Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union during the 1980s. These policies aimed to revitalize the stagnant Soviet system but ultimately contributed to its dissolution. In London, where are the historic Trials of the Pyx held? Hall of the Worshipful Company of Goldsmiths. The Trial of the Pyx is a historic judicial ceremony in the United Kingdom, held annually to verify the metallic content and quality of newly minted coins from the Royal Mint. It has been conducted for centuries, ensuring the integrity and fineness of the nation's coinage. What object, which had been brought to Westminster Abbey in 1296 and placed under St. Edward's chair, was stolen and taken to Scotland in December 1950 and returned the following April? The Coronation Stone. The Stone of Scone, also known as the Coronation Stone, is an ancient symbol of Scottish monarchy, used for centuries in the coronation of its kings. It was taken by Edward I of England in 1296 and placed in Westminster Abbey, symbolizing the subjugation of Scotland. Its theft in 1950 and subsequent return highlights its historical and cultural significance for both nations, now permanently kept in Scotland with an agreement for its use in future British coronations. What instrument is installed in an electrical circuit to vary the resistance? Rheostat. A rheostat is a variable resistor used in electrical circuits to control current by varying the resistance. It typically consists of a resistive wire wound around an insulating core, with a sliding contact to tap into different points of the winding. Rheostats are commonly used for controlling motor speed, dimming lights, and in various laboratory applications. The third atomic bomb to be dropped from an aeroplane was where? The Marshall Islands. The third atomic bomb to be dropped from an aeroplane was part of Operation Crossroads, a series of nuclear weapon tests conducted by the United States at Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands in 1946. This test, named Able, followed the two bombs dropped on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in 1945. The Marshall Islands were used as a testing ground for numerous nuclear weapons, leading to significant environmental and health consequences for the local population. Who was the Puritan leader and first governor of the Pilgrim Fathers, who organized the voyage of the Mayflower to Plymouth, New Hampshire? John Carver. John Carver was a key leader of the Pilgrim Fathers and the first governor of Plymouth Colony in present-day Massachusetts, not New Hampshire. He played a crucial role in organizing the Mayflower voyage and negotiating with Native American tribes upon arrival. His leadership was vital during the challenging initial period of the colony before his death in 1621. What is the next in this series? Rome, Tokyo, Mexico City? Munich. The sequence lists cities that hosted the Summer Olympic Games in chronological order: Rome, 1960, Tokyo, 1964, and Mexico City, 1968. Following this pattern, the next city to host the Summer Olympics was Munich, West Germany, in 1972. Such questions test general knowledge of significant international events and chronological understanding. Which religion has about 119 million known adherents in Japan? Shinto. Shinto is the indigenous religion of Japan and a prominent feature of its cultural identity, often practiced alongside Buddhism. Its followers primarily worship kami, deities or spirits, found in nature and ancestors. While official numbers vary due to syncretism, Shinto is deeply integrated into Japanese society and spiritual life, influencing many aspects of daily life and traditions. Which country is made up of 176 islands, 36 of them inhabited, in three groups, called Wawa, Hape, and Tongatapu, which stretch north-south for 800 kilometers, 500 miles? Tonga. Tonga, officially the Kingdom of Tonga, is a Polynesian sovereign state and archipelago comprising 176 islands in the South Pacific Ocean. Its three main island groups are Wawa, Hape, and Tongatapu, known for their diverse landscapes and rich marine life. Tonga is the only remaining monarchy in Polynesia, with a history spanning over 1,000 years. Which of the Hindu Trimurti is the creator? Brahma. In Hinduism, the Trimurti represents the three principal aspects of God: Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer. Brahma is traditionally considered the creator of the universe and all beings within it. He is often depicted with 4 faces, symbolizing the 4 Vedas and the 4 directions, though his worship is less common than that of Vishnu and Shiva. What happens when Venus is said to be in inferior conjunction? It is precisely on the same side of the Sun as the Earth. Inferior conjunction occurs when an inferior planet, such as Venus or Mercury, is positioned directly between the Sun and the Earth. During this alignment, the planet's illuminated side faces away from Earth, and it can sometimes appear to transit across the Sun. Atlantic equatorial currents pushed westward by the trade winds unite in the Gulf of Mexico and then flow northward. What is this north-flowing current called? Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream is a powerful, warm, and swift Atlantic Ocean current that originates in the Gulf of Mexico and extends towards the North Atlantic. It plays a crucial role in moderating the climate of Western Europe, making it significantly warmer than other regions at similar latitudes. Which country returned to a democratic form of government after the death of dictator Juan Vicente Gómez in 1935? Venezuela. Juan Vicente Gómez was a military strongman who ruled Venezuela with an iron fist for 27 years until his death in 1935. His demise marked a pivotal moment for the nation, initiating a gradual but significant transition towards a more democratic political system. What is the name of the index of average daily prices on the New York Stock Exchange? Dow Jones. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJIA, is a stock market index that tracks the performance of 30 large, publicly owned companies based in the United States. It is one of the oldest and most widely recognized indices, serving as a key indicator of the overall health and direction of the US stock market and economy. Where did Pope Benedict XVI make his first visit as Pope? Germany. Pope Benedict XVI, formerly Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, made his first international apostolic visit as pontiff to his home country of Germany in August 2005. This trip was for World Youth Day in Cologne, a significant event that drew millions of young Catholics from around the globe. If you traveled down the Yarra River in Australia, which city would you be in when you reached the ocean? Melbourne, Australia. The Yarra River flows directly through the heart of Melbourne, the capital city of Victoria, Australia. It empties into Port Phillip Bay, which provides access to the Bass Strait and subsequently the Southern Ocean, making Melbourne the major urban centre at its mouth. In the Southern Hemisphere, in which direction do the winds associated with a cyclone, a region of low pressure, blow? Clockwise. In the Southern Hemisphere, the Coriolis effect causes winds around a low-pressure system, cyclone, to rotate clockwise. Conversely, in the Northern Hemisphere, these winds rotate counterclockwise. Where did a nuclear reactor accident occur on April 26, 1986, at 11:45 p.m., resulting in a severe release of radioactivity after a massive power excursion destroyed the reactor? Chernobyl. The Chernobyl disaster was a catastrophic nuclear accident that occurred on April 26, 1986, at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union. This event resulted in a massive release of radioactive material, making it one of the worst nuclear disasters in history with long-term environmental and health impacts. Who was the British nurse executed on October 12, 1915, for harboring wounded and refugee soldiers in Brussels during German occupation and assisting their escape to Holland? Edith Cavell. Edith Cavell was a British nurse working in German-occupied Belgium during World War I. She helped over 200 Allied soldiers escape to the Netherlands, leading to her arrest, trial, and execution by a German firing squad, which garnered international condemnation and made her a propaganda symbol. In what year was the first demonstration of a helicopter lifting itself organized by Louis Breguet and Professor Richet? 1907. In 1907, Louis Breguet and Professor Charles Richet achieved a significant milestone with their gyroplane No. 1, which performed a successful tethered flight. This early experiment demonstrated the potential of rotary wing aircraft, contributing to the development of modern helicopters. Goidelic is one type of Celtic language. What is the other main type? Brythonic. The Celtic languages are a branch of the Indo-European language family, broadly divided into two groups, Goidelic, or Gaelic, which includes Irish, Scottish Gaelic, and Manx, and Brythonic, or Brittonic, encompassing Welsh, Cornish, and Breton. What has been the motto of the Prince of Wales since the 14th century? Ich dien. The motto, Ich dien, meaning, I serve, in German, has been traditionally associated with the Prince of Wales since the 14th century, famously adopted by Edward, the Black Prince. It is a central element of the Prince of Wales's heraldic badge, symbolizing service and duty. What is the name for a condition of decay in timber caused by attacks of fungi? Dry rot. Dry rot is a form of wood decay caused by certain species of fungi, most notably Serpula lacrymans, which break down cellulose and hemicellulose within timber. This condition severely weakens the wood's structural integrity, often occurring in environments with high moisture and poor ventilation. What is the only Southeast Asian nation that has never been colonized, primarily due to its succession of able rulers in the 1800s and its ability to exploit the rivalry between the French and the British? Thailand. Thailand, formerly known as Siam, successfully maintained its independence throughout the colonial period in Southeast Asia. This unique status was largely due to the strategic diplomacy of its monarchs, who adeptly navigated and leveraged the competing imperial ambitions of France and Britain in the region. What shape are the 8 faces of an octahedron? Triangles. An octahedron is a polyhedron composed of 8 faces, 12 edges, and 6 vertices. Each of its faces is an equilateral triangle, making it one of the 5 Platonic solids, characterized by its regular and convex shape. The crosses of how many saints comprise the British flag, the Union Jack? 3. The Union Jack, the national flag of the United Kingdom, is a composite design incorporating the heraldic crosses of 3 patron saints. It features the red cross of St. George for England, the white saltire of St. Andrew for Scotland, and the red saltire of St. Patrick for Northern Ireland. Which physicist authored A Brief History of Time? Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking was an eminent theoretical physicist and cosmologist renowned for his groundbreaking work on black holes and the origins of the universe. A Brief History of Time is his highly successful popular science book, which lucidly explained complex cosmological concepts to a broad general audience. Which artist is famously associated with his Blue Period? Picasso. Pablo Picasso, the influential Spanish artist, experienced his Blue Period from 1901 to 1904. During this phase, he predominantly used somber shades of blue and blue-green, depicting themes of poverty, melancholy, and despair, reflecting his personal struggles and the social conditions of the time. In what month is Independence Day celebrated in the USA? July. Independence Day in the United States is observed annually on July 4th. This federal holiday commemorates the adoption of the Declaration of Independence on July 4, 1776, which formally declared the 13 American colonies independent from Great Britain. According to legend, who was the subject of Peeping Tom's gaze? Lady Godiva. The legend of Lady Godiva, an Anglo-Saxon noblewoman, describes her riding naked through the streets of Coventry to protest her husband's oppressive taxation. Peeping Tom is the only person said to have defied the town's order to look away, hence his name. What scientific term describes the emission of light by a body as a result of being heated? Incandescence. Incandescence is the emission of electromagnetic radiation, including visible light, from a hot body due to its temperature. This phenomenon is commonly observed in incandescent light bulbs, where a filament is heated to extreme temperatures, causing it to glow. Which city hosted the Winter Olympic Games chronologically following Garmisch-Partenkirchen, Germany, in the given sequence: Chamonix, France; St. Moritz, Switzerland; Lake Placid, United States; Garmisch-Partenkirchen, Germany? St. Moritz, Switzerland. The listed cities are chronological hosts of the Winter Olympic Games: Chamonix, 1924, St. Moritz, 1928, Lake Placid, 1932, and Garmisch-Partenkirchen, 1936. Due to World War II, the 1940 and 1944 games were cancelled. St. Moritz, Switzerland, then hosted the first post-war Winter Olympics in 1948. The Ring of Fire is a major area of seismic activity and volcanic eruptions located around the rim of which ocean? Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ring of Fire is a horseshoe-shaped belt stretching over 40,000 kilometers, characterized by frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. This region is a result of the movement and collision of several tectonic plates, leading to subduction zones and intense geological activity. In 1389, Queen Margaret I unified the crowns of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, establishing the Kalmar Union. Which other significant territory was part of this vast domain, alongside Greenland and Iceland? Finland. Queen Margaret I was a formidable ruler who established the Kalmar Union in 1397, formally uniting the kingdoms of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, along with their dependencies including Greenland, Iceland, and Finland. This union dominated the Nordic region for over a century, profoundly impacting its political and cultural landscape. Cayenne pepper, a popular spice and condiment, is derived from the dried and ground pods of several species belonging to which plant genus? Capsicum. Cayenne pepper is a moderately hot chili pepper used to add zest to dishes worldwide. It is made from the fruits of Capsicum annuum, a species of the nightshade family, Solanaceae, which also includes other common peppers like bell peppers and jalapenos. The Dayaks are indigenous ethnic groups primarily inhabiting which large island in Southeast Asia? Borneo. The Dayak are the indigenous peoples of Borneo, an island divided among Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. They comprise many distinct ethnic groups with diverse cultures, languages, and traditional beliefs, historically known for their longhouse communities and headhunting practices. What does the term tessellated refer to in art? Mosaic. Tessellation in art refers to the creation of a pattern formed by the regular repetition of a geometric shape without any overlaps or gaps. This technique is commonly employed in mosaic art, where small pieces of material, such as stone or glass, are arranged to form intricate designs on surfaces like floors, walls, and ceilings. What was the name given by U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt to his package of economic programs in the mid-1930s, aimed at the 3 R's, relief for the unemployed and farmers, reform of business and financial practices, and recovery of the economy? The New Deal. The New Deal was a series of programs and reforms launched by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in the United States between 1933 and 1939 in response to the Great Depression. Its overarching goals were to provide immediate relief, facilitate economic recovery, and implement structural reforms to prevent future crises, thereby stabilizing the nation's economy and society. What is the name given to a section of the Alps located primarily in the Italian province of Belluno, with extensions into Bolzano, Bozen and Trento? The Dolomites. The Dolomites are a mountain range in northeastern Italy, recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2009 for their unique geological features and stunning scenic beauty. Characterized by their pale, sheer cliffs, deep valleys, and dramatic peaks, they form part of the southern limestone Alps. What did Benjamin Franklin found in Philadelphia in 1736, marking a significant early American public service initiative? America's first firefighting company. Benjamin Franklin, a prominent American founding father and polymath, established the Union Fire Company in Philadelphia in 1736. This pioneering initiative was America's first volunteer firefighting company, underscoring Franklin's commitment to civic welfare and community safety through organized efforts. The influential painter Pablo Picasso was born in which country? Spain. Pablo Picasso, one of the most significant and influential artists of the 20th century, was born in Malaga, Spain, in 1881. His Spanish heritage profoundly influenced his early artistic development and later works, culminating in his co-founding of the Cubist movement. What is measured in quires? Paper. A quire is a unit of paper quantity, traditionally consisting of 24 or 25 sheets. It is often used in the context of paper manufacturing and stationery, where 20 quires typically make up one ream. What sent back the first pictures of the moon's surface by video? Ranger 7. Ranger 7 was an unmanned lunar probe launched by NASA in 1964 as part of the Ranger program. It successfully transmitted the first close-up television pictures of the lunar surface back to Earth before intentionally impacting the moon, providing valuable data for future missions. The Landler is a traditional dance from where? Austria. The Landler is a traditional folk dance originating from Austria, southern Germany, Switzerland, and Slovenia. Characterized by its lively three-quarters time, it is considered a predecessor to the waltz and often involves couples turning and stomping. What name was given to the accidental destruction caused to British trawlers and fishermen by ships from the Russian Navy on the 21st of October 1904, during the Russo-Japanese War? Dogger Bank Incident. The Dogger Bank Incident, also known as the North Sea Incident, occurred in 1904 when the Russian Baltic Fleet mistakenly fired upon British fishing trawlers in the North Sea. Believing them to be Japanese torpedo boats, the incident caused a major diplomatic crisis between Britain and Russia during the Russo-Japanese War. What three laws were formulated by Johannes Kepler in the early 1600s? Planetary motion. Johannes Kepler formulated his three laws of planetary motion in the early 17th century, describing the orbits of planets around the Sun. These laws state that planets move in elliptical orbits, sweep out equal areas in equal times, and that the square of their orbital period is proportional to the cube of their semi-major axis. What is the main ingredient of pilau? Rice. Pilau, also known as pilaf or pulao, is a dish in which rice is cooked in seasoned broth or stock, often with vegetables, meat, or spices. It is a staple food in many cuisines around the world, particularly in South Asian, Middle Eastern, and Central Asian culinary traditions. Which 18th century writer produced She Stoops to Conquer and The Vicar of Wakefield? Oliver Goldsmith. Oliver Goldsmith was an Irish novelist, playwright, and poet of the 18th century, a prominent figure in English literature. His notable works include the comedy, She Stoops to Conquer, 1773, a classic example of sentimental comedy, and the novel, The Vicar of Wakefield, 1766, which explores themes of moral integrity and social satire. How many sides does a trapezoid have? 4. A trapezoid, also known as a trapezium in British English, is a quadrilateral with at least one pair of parallel sides. All quadrilaterals, by definition, are polygons with 4 sides and 4 vertices. What made the first circumnavigation of the world by air in 1929? Graf Zeppelin. The Graf Zeppelin, a German rigid airship, completed the first circumnavigation of the world by air in 1929. This pioneering flight, lasting 21 days, demonstrated the potential for long-distance air travel and marked a significant milestone in aviation history, captivating global attention. Who was an American clergyman, activist, and prominent leader in the African American civil rights movement, assassinated on April 4, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee? Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a pivotal figure in the American civil rights movement, advocating for nonviolent protest against racial segregation and discrimination. His leadership, most notably during the Montgomery bus boycott and the March on Washington, earned him the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. In the UK, what historical event is commemorated annually on the evening of November 5? The Gunpowder Plot, an attempt to blow up the Houses of Parliament, the King, and Parliament. The 5th of November commemorates the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, a failed assassination attempt against King James I and the English Parliament by a group of provincial English Catholics led by Robert Catesby. Guy Fawkes, who was discovered guarding explosives beneath the House of Lords, became the most famous conspirator, leading to bonfire night celebrations. Which major mountain range extends along the western coast of South America? Andes. The Andes is the longest continental mountain range in the world, stretching for about 7,000 kilometers along the western edge of South America, passing through 7 countries. It is known for its high peaks, including Mount Aconcagua, and plays a crucial role in the continent's climate and biodiversity. In which country did miso soup originate? Japan. Miso soup is a traditional Japanese soup consisting of a dashi stock into which softened miso paste is mixed. It is a staple of Japanese cuisine, typically served at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and is valued for its nutritional benefits and savory flavor. In 1934, English inventor and businessman Percy Shaw patented and subsequently established a company to manufacture which invention? The reflective road stud, cat's eye. Percy Shaw invented the cat's eye reflective road stud in 1934, a crucial safety device for road users. These studs reflect vehicle headlights, greatly improving visibility of road markings and lane divisions, especially in foggy conditions or at night, thereby significantly reducing road accidents.